What's going on, Nintendo World? Welcome to Class vs. Crass, one of the best Nintendo podcasts on YouTube. If you watch any other ones, this is the best one. With me tonight, as usual, Mr. Crass himself, Shawn Long. How you doing?
Oh, hey, what's up? I'm good, chilling.
Are you distracted, sir?
No, I was reading the chat room.
Good thing to do. And we have a special guest tonight, the Asian sensation, Jason. Or as you guys might know.
None of that is true, except the Asian part, but hello.
Hey, do you prefer we call you Jason or Zero tonight?
That's completely up to you guys.
I would say Zero because we have two Jasons in here.
And I prefer Zero personally. It's just
Do you want to be Zero?
Sure, why not?
Well, I was talking to French Canadian Jason if he wanted to be Zero.
Okay.
No, I tried it once and it didn't work out so well.
Oh, okay.
I prefer
Well, I'm the
Samus.
minority, so I'll just let the white people decide for me.
There we go. That's a great start to a podcast. Let's just throw all the racial stuff out there.
I have my beef and broccoli here from PF Chang's.
Gotta be cold by now.
Yeah, it is. It's still good, though. I love Chinese food cold.
We can't bring on anyone of multicultural descent without Shawn having to make a statement about it.
I think racial humor is funny.
I agree.
Because you're white, that's why you think it's funny.
No. Because I grew up in black neighborhoods and stuff, so it kind of works for me.
You're not really white either, though, Shawn.
I guess not. Not from the waist down. You know what I'm saying?
Italian background, right?
Yes.
Got talking about the Italian sausage.
Yes, sir.
All right, so this is a Nintendo podcast after all, so let's talk some gaming stuff. So we always like to start this off with, what have you guys been playing in the last week? And Shawn's always the one gaming even on podcasts. So what have you been gaming in the last week?
I've been playing Shenmue 2 a lot because I never finished that one. I've been playing, well, I played Life of Pixel, which is a great freaking game if you like retro games. Definitely recommend picking that up on the Wii U eShop. I gave it a pretty good score when I reviewed it. And I played Aladdin a lot today on Genesis. I did a live stream of that. And had many meltdowns in this one level that I completely forgot about. And, God, it just sucked.
That was one of my favorite games as a kid.
Did you play it on Genesis or Super Nintendo?
I played it on both, but I had a Genesis, so that's the one I played the most. My mother would rent it all the time, and finally I beat the game, and like a few weeks before Christmas, and then like she had already bought it for me for Christmas, so it was kind of a downer gift because I had already played it and beaten it, but I still played it a lot, so yeah, it was good.
Dude, it's such a the Genesis one is so much better because the Super Nintendo one was made by Capcom, and you know Capcom in the 16-bit era was like on point, but the Genesis one was actually made by Walt Disney did all the graphics and stuff with Virgin, who was David Perry and Shiny and all them. So the animations in the Genesis one are like amazing. Like it literally, nobody talks about it being like one of the best graphical Genesis games because it's, you know, a side scroller, but the animation is just freaking mind blowing in some of the stages and stuff. Like it's so good. It's one of the best looking games on the Genesis, and nobody freaking gives it credit for it.
Was it the SNES or the Genesis that had the really cool magic carpet level?
Genesis.
Is that the one? Is it like from behind? The camera's like behind the magic carpet?
No. That one's side scrolling on the Genesis.
Oh. So yeah, I don't recall. I forgot to mention, in case anyone doesn't know Zero for any reason, he's the host of our show YYY on Nintendo Enthusiasts, and he also does other shows and interviews on his own personal channel. So there you go, brief intro to Jason. So Zero, what have you been playing last week? Do you play games?
Batman Arkham Knight. Now, of course, for Shawn, that's way too modern, and it's nice and shiny, and has all kinds of bells and whistles, and lots of graphics, things he doesn't really... I like his face already, it works out.
There's too many pixels.
Have you heard of graphics, Shawn? Have you heard of them?
Is that like the Super FX chip?
Mode 7.
Yeah, Mode 7. That's freaking cool.
They're up to Mode 14 now.
Oh. But yeah, I've been playing Batman Arkham Knight, and, got a review popping in a couple of weeks, but it's been a way better game than I expected. And one of the things I actually am mad about is on the back of the box, it actually says it's the end to the trilogy, but technically it's the 4th game. They're just not acknowledging that they didn't develop Arkham Origins, which is kind of messed up.
That is
So
kind
the
of
back of the box is like a final end to the trilogy, and I'm like, there's actually 4 games, but thanks for ignoring all the people that worked on Origins. But
well, Origins did suck. I mean,
was it that bad?
This is the funny thing. I actually disagree with that. I would say that was still a pretty good game. It's not it's the worst in the series, but I don't think it's a bad game. And Arkham Knight actually takes some of the mechanics from Origins, so it's even more rude that they ignored Origins, but used some of the mechanics. So it's kind of an ironic situation.
That's a bitch move.
Yeah, I kind of was like, that's, I'm sure Warner Brothers partially did it too because they knew it was the worst in the series, so they just said, let's pretend it doesn't exist, but kind of messed up all the people that worked on that game and didn't even get acknowledged.
I just hated the really long boss fights in Origins, and like it seemed like they were all sort of gimmicky, and I didn't really like that. Like I remember one was like a dude was throwing canisters, and you had to like catch the canister and throw it at him. I just remember that's like where I got stuck, and I got really mad.
That's the first boss fight of Origins, dude.
Okay, maybe it wasn't. Maybe I got past it. I just remember not liking that.
I actually, see, that's what I felt was interesting. They had some of the best QTE-style boss fights of any QTEs, meaning, the fight with Deathstroke felt the most intense for a QTE fight that you're ever going to have with QTEs. Even though I don't like QTEs, it did it pretty good. And then crime scene reconstruction, that was actually a really nifty idea, and I'm going to spoil it now. Crime scene reconstruction also happens in Arkham Knight. So they took that from Origins as well.
Well, I did like that. Now, is there, I heard one of the main complaints about Arkham Knight is too much Batmobile. Do you feel that, or is that not a problem for you?
I heard it was the tank mode.
It's like, I don't want to blow my whole own review of it, but
Fuck it. I mean, screw it. Sorry.
Team Crass.
I do mention, and this is the truth, the tank battles and the Batmobile use is indeed a little too much. But I'll admit, even though it's too much, it's still actually fun. So it breaks the mold of Batman, because the Batmobile should be Batman's greatest technological gadget, not his sidekick. And the mistake in Arkham Knight is that the Batmobile is basically your best sidekick, and that's really the mistake they've made. It shouldn't be your sidekick, it should be your best gadget, and they didn't really figure that out. So you're working more with your Batmobile than you are with any of your own allies, which is kind of where I think the misstep is. And at the same time, it is still fun. I'm not going to deny that being a tank and racing through the streets and blasting up other tanks, I mean, it was fantastic. That stuff was fun.
Right.
Well, let me show everyone in the chat room my new Batman game.
Oh
God.
I'm a little bit behind, but I think this is the new Batman that everyone's very excited about. I just got this last week, and I'm very excited to play it. I'm sure it'll be even better than Arkham Penis or whatever they're on nowadays. No, my buddy just got the Arkham Knight PS4 bundle, and I'm gonna have him bring that over because I do want to play it. I mean, I do love. I mean, I own Arkham City Armored Edition and Origins on the Wii U. I have the 3DS one as well. I do love those games. I think they're really well done. Even the 3DS one, which caught a lot of flack. But I don't know. I still can't convince myself to buy a PS4 or an Xbox One just because, like, watching the game, it's like, oh, okay, the suit is shinier and there's a couple better lighting effects, but
from what I played on the demo, it plays really well. I mean, reminds me a lot of like Assassin's Creed kind of games. You got your story, but you've got millions of side quests, and you just explore stuff. So, I'm all for that.
So Jason, what have you been playing?
I've been playing something very exciting. I got back into the Metroid Prime trilogy this week. So yeah, I bought it back in February, and I actually launched it today or the other day. And I haven't played Metroid Prime like in over 10 years. The first Metroid Prime on GameCube was actually my entry into the Metroid series. So I was completely lost on the lore. I had no sense of like reference for anything. I didn't know who Ridley was or what that big dinosaur in the beginning was. So to replay it and to actually like understand what happened in Super Metroid and all that is really fun. What else did I play? There were 2 games. Oh yeah, I've been playing some Shovel Knight because my editing together my little interview with Yacht Club game definitely gave me an itch to play Shovel Knight, which is.
Why don't you should make a video on it.
Of why Shovel Knight is such a great value game. You know, sometimes I didn't regret that video until very recently. Like I would stand behind that video, but now I'm starting to like.
No, I would stand behind you standing behind it.
Like, okay, so this is we're talking about a video on the Nintendo Enthusiast channel where I was arguing that Armillo was a better value, not a better game than Shovel Knight.
It is.
It was basically instead of that video, I could have just said it's a great indie game for a good price. Buy it. To compare the two was redundant, and Armillo. Honestly, I haven't gone back to play Armillo, but I've gone back to play Shovel Knight, so that plays into the value too. Yeah.
I really haven't.
You haven't played Armillo or Shovel Knight?
I know. I have put like 25, 30 hours into Armillo. I have not in Shovel Knight. Like, I don't know. Like, it's cool. It's fun. It's pretty. I'll play the DLC, but I just don't think it's as good as the mainstream media. I mean, mainstream media pretty much created that hype and that buzz, and I don't know. It's a great game, but you know.
I think you both need current generation consoles, because I'd rather talk about The Witcher 3 or something right now.
Oh, you mean Fable? Yeah.
I want to talk about The Witcher 3. I want to talk about Dragon Age Inquisition. I want to talk about Mortal Kombat X. I want to talk about all these games neither of you are enjoying.
You can only talk about Splatoon, and that is all.
I'm sorry, The Witcher 3 looks like booty cheeks to me.
Well, you'd be wrong.
How is it different than Fable? Like, it looks like freaking Fable on the 360. Like, the towns look exactly like Fable on the 360. This
is how you know this guy's not a current-gen gamer, because he's like, it looks like old games, but it doesn't.
It does! It does! That is why I will not buy a fucking, or a freaking Xbox One or a PS4 right now. Because there are no games that I'm like, okay, holy shit, this can't run on a PS3 or an Xbox 360.
Did you know, when I was at E3, the developers of Arkham Knight actually told me that like all of the programming just for the Batmobile took up the space of an Xbox 360 disc. So, I don't know, you know.
I'm not going to deny, having played Arkham Knight, I'm not going to deny that while still possible on the Wii U, they'd have to scale it back admittedly a decent amount. Because when you already cut, I'm not sure how much people know about actual processing power, but when you cut from 60 down to 30 frames per second, that's a huge amount of breathing room for processing power. And even then, the PS4 and Xbox One find themselves struggling to achieve a locked 30 because there's just so much going on that the system, even simply put, even the systems themselves are struggling to maintain it. So for it to even come to the Wii U, for example, or even the last-gen system, they would have to admittedly scale it back so much. You're looking at 720p or sub-720, and then you're looking at maybe Arkham Origins, Arkham City graphics, and probably more frame rate dips. And in a lot of ways, I have to admit, Arkham Knight really does push the envelope on these consoles, and it's, a fine example, actually, of where current-gen gaming is probably going to stand in comparison to the last generation. And maybe Shawn is going to put the blinders on and say, I don't know, Arkham City looks pretty good, but Arkham Knight's a real technological feat once you actually see it.
I have seen it. Not impressed.
It takes a lot to impress Shawn, though.
No, it doesn't. You know what impresses me? N64 to GameCube. You know what impresses me? PS2 to PS3. That's the kind of shit that impresses me.
Dude, you're never gonna see that. Like, all those steps were all polygon counts. Next, like, we've reached a point where polygon count is close enough to reality that now you have to start working on all these other aspects of the game, such as lighting effects or particle effects, all these little things that aren't. What are you oohing at? It's not going to be as mind-blowing as those generation gaps, just because you don't see it right away. It's more, you're seeing that next gen in the feeling, in the atmosphere, in what surrounds you. So I don't know if Zero agrees with that.
I just want Shawn to see what Arkham Knight looks like, and I don't want to spoil the story. There's a point after which you realize that there is so much stuff on screen that it's to a point where, I admit, it gets a little busy, but when you've got 40 tanks firing at you while you're firing stuff and stuff is blowing up and you're shooting EMPs and getting rockets fired up your butt, it gets to a point where you look at that and realize that the processing power to run all that is actually, not really possible in last generation, at least not without a lot of scale. You have to scale it back quite a bit.
Because when I think of Batman, I think of tanks and EMPs.
Actually, that would make sense. He is Bruce Wayne. Expensive company, technological division.
Only in the Dark Knight bullshit.
The modern bullshit.
It is!
90s Batman doesn't have EMPs or tanks.
No, it doesn't. It's better.
So you're gonna have billions of dollars, but never spend any of it on creating or inventing gadgets of any sort.
How much do you think the Batmobile would cost?
That's my point. It's a technological marvel. It's supposed to be.
Here's a question. Here's an interesting segue. Zero. So, given your appreciation of the next gen, current gen, whatever. What's the word? What do you think Nintendo's going to do next? Do you think that they're going to keep going gameplay, like focus on gameplay, unique gameplay, or do you think that they have to up their game in terms of supporting these high-demand games and games like Batman, Arkham Knight? What are your thoughts on that? On where the NX is going? Do you think we're going to see another Wii U kind of thing, or do you think they're going to go GameCube and really just bring out the power?
It's really one of those things where I think either way they go, they're in a situation where they can't make their fans happy. If they go and join the power race, they're just now joining the power race, which people will laugh at for one and go, ha ha ha. And if it's not more powerful than the other consoles, then they may not have done any justice for themselves. Meaning, even if they join the power race but somehow place in second or third, they'll just get laughed at. And then there's the route they're going now. They don't care about the power race. They just want to do what they want to do. And I can respect that, actually, a little more, because it says we don't go with the trends. We just want to make fun gaming experiences. And if you want to enjoy it, come and enjoy it. And if you don't, you don't. But I think what people are expecting is for them to do both, which is not really going to be possible. Because even though even though Nintendo as a company is still fairly rich, it's not a smart investment plan to try and do both of those things, because that would be incredibly expensive. The Wii U gamepad is an example of how it's already expensive just to do something different, not necessarily powerful. So if you want to do something both different and powerful, it's going to be some sort of large ceiling where you'd have to sell maybe 20 million or 30 million units just to balance out the R&D costs and the production costs at launch, versus maybe the Wii U. I think my guess, without any numbers, is that 10 million is the break-even point. Once the Wii U sells 10 million, it has broken even with its R&D and production costs, which is probably why they're already just coasting along. Once they break even, they can start focusing on the next one, versus, say, the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4's target may be 20 million units before it breaks even with R&D and investment. The components and all the costs and mass production. So for Nintendo to try and do both, I think is what fans want, but I don't think it's going to be possible, because you're going to have some monumental sales figure that has to balance out all of this R&D, all of this manufacturing, and the fact that you put more expensive hardware in it. So if I had to pick one, I'd probably say they should maintain the course of making their own game experiences, because joining the power race, making it a three-way race, it requires you to be towards the top, or at least beating the one at the top. And that's, of course, a never-ending race, by the way. And if they don't, I think they've wasted their money there, because as long as they're in third place, it doesn't matter if they're in third place by an inch or third place by miles, they're still in third place, and they're just going to get laughed at. So I would say they're better off going with gaming experiences versus the power race. That's just my take on it, though.
No, that's a very good take on it. I don't know, Shawn, if you have thoughts on it. I mean,
of course I have thoughts on it.
Yeah, are they thoughts we want to hear, though? That's the question.
I don't give a shit. I think you're right in some regards, but they can't. I don't think they can necessarily afford another Wii U. Like, although I talk
They're
a lot
making
of
money.
they can't afford another Wii U. They can't afford that. They can't afford to be the only ones developing for their system as far as retail titles are concerned. So either they need to shell out money towards power, or they need to shell out money for more third-party exclusives, because they can't. You can't do another. If they do another Wii U, they will be in some trouble. And you could say, well, Amiibo sells well, their software sells well. Yes, it does. But at the end of the day, they're a video game company, so they need to. And I'm not necessarily saying they need to enter the power race, but they need to find a way to be relevant in it, if that makes any sense. They need to have something strong enough to where it either that or my Steam box idea, basically. It has to be one of those two things. And I think with Miyamoto not really being involved in the hardware development, I think you may see something more as a traditional console. And I mean, they can still have something. 'Cause you got to remember, technology is one of the fastest dropping cost things in the world. I mean, I remember when 32-inch HD TVs were $1,000, and now they're what? $200. So I think if they can find some technological components, and with the online infrastructure with DNA, and they have a strong online infrastructure, I think they can easily create a system that developers will want to develop for and consumers will want to buy. It just depends on what software they present during the launch, because that's going to be key. I mean, they mucked up the launch of the Wii U, and that was also with the unprecedented third-party support, and everyone bailed on them. So basically, they need to have a strong launch, and I think they can dabble in the power race, but not necessarily enter it, if that makes sense. But someone has to help them make games, and I'm not saying that it has to be ports or whatever, but you can't rely on your first party and your indies, or else you're going to be in another Wii U situation where, while consumers may be happy to some extent, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people.
It's interesting you talk about the inability to survive on their own titles, and I mentioned this in my own Nintendo NX video, but if the next system is a hybrid and you combine all of the titles that the 3DS gets and all of the titles that they put on home consoles on the one system, you could actually survive without third parties. If you think about all of the games on 3DS and you create a proper console hybrid, which allows you to have the portability, and you now mash all of the titles that Nintendo makes into one system, you're filling out the library pretty well without even having third parties. So in that situation, if it ends up being a hybrid, they could survive without third parties in that situation. If you think about the titles the 3DS gets, and you compile those and pretend they were all on the Wii U, that's a pretty full library.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not. I can't disagree with that. But you also have to remember, third parties support the 3DS a hell of a lot more than they do the Wii U as well.
Because it's a safer
naturally, I'm sure
investment,
those
too.
would just come on. I mean, Monster Hunter would come on over, Fire Emblem would come on over. A lot of those third-party developed exclusives would probably go with it, and that's kind of my point. Once you bring them all over, if they're all on one system, you don't need the other third parties. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. The other third parties that neglect the Wii U or neglect Nintendo, or I can't even talk right now, that neglect Nintendo now wouldn't be needed if the next system is indeed a single ecosystem where you no longer have to have two systems with two separate libraries. If you combine it all into one, you pretty much don't need the rude third parties anymore.
Oh yeah, and I fully agree with that. So, but I don't. It's going to be very interesting, and it kind of sucks because I mean, let's face it. Right now, the Wii U is just kind of treading water. For lack of a better term, I don't think that it's going to die in a year or whatever. But it is kind of sad to see it kind of treading water, and but you never know. There could be more surprises and shit. Like let's face it. Nintendo is batshit crazy, and you never know what to expect. Like, they could easily, do a Direct in, August or September and just be like, oh, yeah, check out these new games that we didn't show you at E3 because, fuck you. And, they could be mind-blowing, sick games, so...
Don't give us hope.
No, I mean, but that's true, though. Just think of how Nintendo works. Their hardware is different, their mentality is different. They're just a very... very different company, and so yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
With what Zero was just saying, you guys actually got me thinking that I think I
just saw you wave around a credit card. Are you getting ready to buy games?
Yeah, let's go buy card. No, that was just a card laying around. I think we might actually be seeing the death of Nintendo in a handheld market, and I know this is just me thinking out loud. So if they're getting into if you look at the 3DS sales, the new 3DS was weaker than the Game Boy Advance. If you watch Nintendo numbers, you would know. So we saw the 3DS is, not moving as many units as it should. They launched the new 3DS as a way to actually get their 3D technology to work. And now with their DNA partnership and all this, they're going into mobile where they're going to have access to a much broader market. Everyone has a phone or a tablet. And we've already seen them experiment with that kind of software on the 3DS, like Pokemon Shuffle and the other one, Pokemon Rumble, I think. So I think those titles are going to see a lot more. That's going to be Nintendo's new handheld market. And as Zero is saying, if they focus all their development team on a home console, which would be, say, the NX, then Nintendo's in a position where they can probably support themselves. You've got your mobile. If you want to play your Nintendo games on the go, your non-traditional ones, you would have the mobile games on your phone and tablet, which would be a much bigger market. And then the NX is where you would have your home console, and maybe even your current 3DS experiences just leveled up a little, a sort of hybrid sort. So,
yeah, I
don't
know.
believe in that?
No, I don't think. I think they'll. No, I can't foresee them. I mean, in Nintendo and numbers, that's awesome. That you can see those graphs like that, but I mean, at the end of the day, they're making bank, retarded amounts of bank off the 3DS still. I mean, and it could not sell as well, and that's fine and dandy, but I mean, some of their biggest software sales are on the 3DS. So,
but I agree, and I see what you're getting. But can a 3DS, can a dedicated handheld gaming device survive much longer in a continuously evolving world where our phones can do anything we want? I even saw Samsung at E3. They were using, I think, the S6 with headgear to do virtual reality with it. Our phones can do more and more. Obviously, you can never replace the you can't get your gaming with buttons that well on a phone, but I think that how much longer can a handheld gaming device really survive in our current society? Well, although it is bigger in Japan, so.
I mean, I don't think necessarily handheld. It's hard for me to talk about mobile gaming because I think it sucks. I think it's just garbage. I can't stand it. It's microtransaction to hell. There's no buttons unless you buy something, and a lot of these games aren't necessarily full-fledged experiences. And I think one of the biggest myths about mobile gaming is that it's a great it's it's a very lucrative market, and it can be, but for every success story, there's a million fail stories of games on the mobile market because it's so oversaturated. I mean, think of how many mobile games come out every day that go overlooked and don't get any sales and don't get any attention paid to it. So I don't know, Zero, what do you think about the mobile market? Do you think that would be a good thing, or do you kind of see it as I see it, and hopefully you do?
No.
He's gonna boot me from here.
Here's the thing. Both of you have points on it, but could a dedicated handheld survive? Yes, because of the control layout for one. So you make a good point. Yes, mobile games require a different control scheme. It's more comfortable in terms of long hours to have a proper set of buttons and joysticks. So in that sense, a dedicated handheld can survive. The other reason it would still survive is the type of titles. If you look at what's on the 3DS, there's still nothing matched with what's on the 3DS on mobile phones. Comes close in some cases, but it just doesn't match what the 3DS offers. So let's just suppose, I know they've alluded to the NX being a console, but let's just suppose the NX was purely a handheld, and Nintendo decided to leave the home console market entirely. Could they survive off handheld? You bet. You absolutely bet they could. I wouldn't deny it at all. If Nintendo said, we're not going to even do home consoles anymore, we're going dedicated handhelds, that's where we're focusing our efforts, and our handhelds will integrate with other mobile apps. Could that handheld survive? Yes, definitely, because not only does it have the titles it needs, but it has a more comfortable control scheme for long hours of play. And in the end, let's face it, Nintendo's strongest market right now is handheld. They're losing in the home console market space for the most part, so if they decided to go all handheld, I can't blame them in business sense, and most likely they would survive just because of the type of titles, and again, you have a comfortable control scheme for long hours of play, whereas mobile games, play it for 30 minutes, play it for 5 minutes, play it for maybe an hour max, but you really can't get comfortable and keep playing mobile games just because of, like Shawn said, the way the control scheme is. It's just not comfortable. So in that sense, you get bigger experiences on the handheld, and Nintendo does provide those, like Pokemon and Yokai Watch and Fire Emblem. So, that's my take on that.
But plus, a lot of mobile games are dumbed down bullshit. Like, I got an Amazon Fire HD before I went on my trip to New York and Connecticut, and I was like, oh cool, they have WWE 2K15. That's not on my Wii U. Oh cool, they have a Deus Ex game. I like Deus Ex. Let me try these out. And I got both of those games, and I had a controller that that Jason had actually sent me that was a Bluetooth controller. And I was like, all right, cool, great. I can just plug this in, play with my Bluetooth controller, and I'll be happy. And these games were such stripped down bullshit, and they didn't have button inputs. It was all touch controls, and if I wanted button inputs, I could get them, but I would have to download this and then ping it to this, and then it still wouldn't work all the time, but it might work, and it's just no. No.
So what if it was Nintendo that was behind that? The software quality would go up right away. We know Nintendo does good software. But instead of selling you a handheld, they sell you the Nintendo Bluetooth controller. So then you can use it with any phone you got. Costs you maybe $50. You've got a Nintendo product, and I don't know, maybe they sell it for $100, and then you get no, that wouldn't make sense. You get an account with a membership, and then you get all those titles. You guys said a handheld. They have a monopoly on the handheld.
There's not
PSV, but the handheld market's very strong in Japan, but I think it's falling apart in the West. You're seeing handhelds becoming less and less popular in the West.
I don't think you are. I don't think you are, and because I mean, and there's not parity in mobile devices. If you look, there's a ton of mobile devices out there, and a ton of them don't run certain games. For example, I could not get NBA 2K15 to run on my phone or my Amazon Fire tablet. And if you look at the reviews for the game on Amazon, there's 1 million people out there that are like, oh, this doesn't work on my Samsung, blah, blah, blah. This doesn't work on my blah, blah, blah. This doesn't work on my blah, blah, blah. And it's like, shit. Like if, okay, you're going to alienate people because their cell phone isn't up to snuff with what it needs to be, and cell phones are always changing, and do I need an iPhone and shit? And it's just like, I don't foresee Nintendo doing that because that's the complete opposite of how Nintendo is. Nintendo is very, easy, pick up and play, simplified, and this is just like complex nonsense.
So it would surprise you the way Nintendo always surprises you.
That would piss me off, is what it would do.
No, I mean, I'm not saying it's a solid idea. I'm just brainstorming. There would be stuff that would have to change, but
typical Canadian idea.
Got some good ideas sometimes. So before we go into the next part, let's do a giveaway. I want to give away a game. I've got a game here to give away for the North American audience.
All right. What game am I gonna get?
Yeah, you've already got it, you douche. It's Guacamelee. Super Turbo Championship Edition for the Wii U. So we need a trivia question, though.
I think Zero should do the trivia question. Unless he doesn't want to, then I'll do it. And I'll make it so obscure that no one will get it.
Without was it the last time Cockburn? Was the
well, I'm a little confused and lost. I have no idea what's happening right now.
We give away stuff on this show.
We give away stuff. So in the middle of the show, we're giving away a game.
I should say Jason gives away stuff because I don't give away shit.
That's true. Yeah, it is on my dollar that we give stuff away. So at the end of the show, we're going to give away one piece of Shawn's retro collection, and you get one game from Zero's Wii U collection.
We're going to give away Batman Returns from Shawn. He showed
I just got
it! Enjoy it for a week and then ship it out, Shawn. Alright, so Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition by Drinkbox Studios. It's for your Wii U. Unfortunately, it's only for the North American audience. Wonder where I got it. So we just need a question. Zero, do you have any idea of what we could ask people? We usually like to do trivia related to it, but Drinkbox Studio I know is kind of obscure to most people.
I can make it work.
Can you?
Let's let Shawn do this one because I don't think I am going to have a good trivia question.
Yeah, give me a second and talk, and then I'll come.
So we'll come up with something. Meanwhile, tonight we were supposed to cover a lot of the investors meeting that Nintendo had last week, which, funny enough, in the last half hour we have touched up on a lot of things that were discussed, such as the mobile market and the NX. There's not that much left to go over. We do have the membership service that Nintendo did talk about, hinting that. So there was a question asked in the investors meeting if Nintendo would ever discount download-only titles versus retail titles, and they were saying no because that devalues software. But they hinted that with their new membership service coming out, you might get some exclusive or some discounts on download titles. So that's something we'll probably get into. Are you going to be typing the questions somewhere, Shawn?
No, I'll just announce it, and I'll tell you what the thing is. I'm looking it up right now.
All right. Just to further what we were talking about in the investors meeting, they did confirm that NX software would start from zero. So, it sounds like it's going to be a whole new platform to develop on that they can't necessarily leverage Wii U software, other than, of course, just making it backwards compatible.
What does Jason Chuang have to do with it?
With what?
You just said it's going to start from zero.
Aren't you funny?
Okay, I got my question.
All right, go for it.
All right. Guacamelee is based on, of course, Metroid-style games. Now, Metroid released on the NES, as everyone knows, but they also did a Game Boy Advance classic NES series. And Metroid was one of those games. I own it, still sealed in new condition. When did that game come out in North America? The NES Classic Series Metroid for Game Boy Advance.
You are cruel on our audience.
Yes.
I'm going to come up with these questions in advance to give our viewers a bit more
I didn't even Wikipedia that. I had to go like deep into my. I need to see here. Okay,
oh shit. Okay, so to recap, you were saying it's on the Game Boy Color, or Advance?
No, it's on the Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance. They re-released Metroid in an NES Classic series.
Yep, I put the
Yeah,
date.
I see it. Yeah, and you're saying when was that released in North America?
Yes.
That's unfair to our European viewers.
Well, this code is for North American viewers only, so waka waka.
Good point. Waka waka indeed.
No, I need specific dates, Blackbirdie. And
month, day, year is what we're looking for.
Month, day, year. We ain't playing around in these parts.
And the hour. What hour it was released.
And the hour.
Do we have a winner?
Oh, Cage coming in.
Why is that name familiar? Didn't he win something last time?
I don't know. He might have.
This is why you randomize giveaways. That way the same person with the power of Google doesn't win every time.
Look, you got to come correct on this show, and it's whoever gets it first. I applaud those who research. Cage, you have won.
It's whoever has the fastest Googling power who always wins. Yeah, so we'll send that after the show so we're not too distracted. But the answer was October 25th, 2004. All right, so our next topic, body pillows. Where are we at on that? Nintendo body pillows. No?
What?
What?
Didn't we agree we would be talking about body pillows on this?
Did we?
All right, I'm just messing with you guys. So, back to the investors meeting. We were already talking about the membership stuff. And actually, that's a good point because I remember, Shawn, you said that you were expecting the new like Club Nintendo replacement to be talked about last year at E3 because you had your little birdie or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was obvious with Club Nintendo being discontinued this year, we were expecting it to be at E3, and it's still silent. But Nintendo was still talking at their investors meeting that we would be getting some kind of new membership service this year. So we're probably going to hear about that in the next few months.
I would think they would do a direct for that because
for sure
that's something pretty big, in my opinion, especially depending on what all they do with it. So, yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to, honestly.
And what do you guys think it's going to be?
I'll let Zero go first. He's been a little quiet.
Well,
Maybe he has no opinion on this one. Or
I was trying to figure out what game Shawn was playing on his phone, but I think he was texting.
Yeah, I was texting. Facebooking, actually.
It's not Instagram?
No, I'm not really on that Instagram like I need to be. I was told Instagram was like a mecca of hot chicks, like posing pictures. Like hot chicks posting pictures that were too hot for Facebook, and I've been severely disappointed.
You've got to find the right hashtags, man.
I'm talking about chicks I know, like
because you need to get to know other girls, or maybe they're not tech savvy.
I know a lot of chicks. I know way too many chicks. I'm about to check my Instagram now. Yeah, what the hell are we talking about?
Club Nintendo replacement. God, we are getting so sidetracked on this episode today. What we think it is, what we would like to see was, I know we had a discussion on this, like a Class vs. Crass back when the show sucked. A little bit more.
The show still does suck. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but we didn't have Zero on it, so it's better now.
Cultural diversity.
Yeah, I was going to say the only advantage is that I'm not white.
Hey, it's a big advantage, especially on this show. Yeah, do you have any ideas, Zero? Do you have any wish lists of what you would like? Did you even like Club Nintendo? Let's get started on what we do know.
Well, I am going to be honest with the audience and you guys. Before I started my own channel, I never signed up or touched Club Nintendo, even though I have been playing Nintendo for such a long time. Meaning, I never cared about the rewards. I just bought the games I wanted to play and played them. So I kind of learned about Club Nintendo more recently, and that's when I started registering games and doing the surveys and whatnot. And I have other things to say on that, but that's not here for this show. But a lot of people ask me where I got my posters. That question comes up all the time for me, and it came from Club Nintendo. And I think, how do I put this? I'm trying to put this in a way that seems. Yeah, I know. I saw you have different ones too. I think in the end, Club Nintendo was a good idea, but didn't really ever pan out to reward its fans. I think in the way that people who use Club Nintendo think it did. So I'm hoping primarily that this new membership service is much more accessible, I think is the word I'm looking for. It's much more accessible to Nintendo fans. Because at Club Nintendo, when I keep getting asked where I got my posters from, it tells me that a lot of Nintendo fans don't use Club Nintendo or even know about it or check the rewards. And yet, when I sign on to my Xbox One, they always show me what free games and what stuff is coming up for its subscribers. That doesn't happen with Club Nintendo. They don't make these announcements in your face. So all I can really hope for with the next reward service membership, even though you two are busy typing in the chat,
I'm listening, don't worry.
is that it's more accessible. That when you sign on to your Wii U and you are part of this service, that it says, hey, did you know this month's rewards is the Smash Brothers posters that you can get if you have so many coins? That's what I really hope for. I don't care what it is. I care that Nintendo makes it more prominent so that Nintendo fans feel more rewarded when they actually sign on and turn on their system. Because Club Nintendo doesn't do that. I got to go to my computer. I got to create my account. I got to fill out a survey just to get stuff or to even know what the rewards are. Whereas Xbox Live, it puts what the subscriber rewards are right there. Get games free with Live. Check this out. This one's free this month. Check out these discounts this week. So all I really want from Nintendo's next service is to integrate it with the system so people feel like being a Nintendo fan and being part of this service is rewarding. That's really my take on that.
But you were saying that you were aware of the Club Nintendo program. You just chose not to participate because nothing in there attracted you? Like, you didn't want the free games or the merchandise?
I wasn't aware of what is in the rewards because it's like, this is what when you get the games, they got those slips, or they used to, that's like, register your game now on Club Nintendo. And so I knew what Club Nintendo was, but without knowing the rewards, nothing incentivized me to actually go and check it out. And that's kind of the problem with it, I think. Nothing incentivized me to actually go do that survey for those Club Nintendo points until I had my own channel where I said, okay, I really got to understand everything Nintendo now.
Right.
And so I think the next membership service's focus maybe shouldn't be so much the rewards, but about integrating it into the systems themselves so that the rewards are presented to you, letting you know this is why you should go do it, versus the way it was before. Register this club. There's some cool rewards on Club Nintendo. You should go check it out. And, that's really my take on that.
So you think the content of the club were actually good, though? Just their marketing was bad and didn't give you a reason to care about it because you couldn't see what was behind that wall unless you signed up. Is that right?
Pretty much. I mean, the rewards sometimes were a little, how do I put this? I think people can be a little entitled. It's free stuff. You shouldn't be expecting, everything that you ever wanted and dreamed for free. But at the same time, yeah, sometimes the rewards were a little on the lackluster side. But no, I don't. You're right. I don't have a problem with the rewards they presented. It's more about how they presented Club Nintendo. It didn't feel like it was rewarding Nintendo fans as much as it should have been, simply because, like you said, there was a wall you had to look past just to figure it out, find out what's going on.
You were going to say something, Shawn?
Yes, I had my hand up. I was just waiting.
Yeah.
I fully agree, but I think the problem with Club Nintendo is that it was so old that, because you got to remember, like, you were getting these Club Nintendo things on game. Yeah, I mean, you were getting them forever. So, like, at the time, it was decent, but as time went on, it just became, it became a pain in the ass. Okay, Anakin, I am Retro Gaming Tube. I said your name.
No, he wants me. I think he wants me to say his name. Anakin.
Make him work for it. The problem is that time went on and the Club Nintendo never advanced with time. So I would get these freaking codes in, and like it was just such a pain in the ass to sit there and type out the thingy and then you answer all the questions. Yes, 29-year-old male, Dizzle. Yes, that's me. What did you think of this game? 1 to 10. What did you think of this feature? 1 to 10. And it was just like, man, just frick. Like, I bought the damn game. Like, what else do you want from me? It was just too time consuming, and it got tedious after a while. So I think that the next thing will be much more advanced, and it'll be much more streamlined, hopefully, because I think,
like Zero's saying, hopefully, the first time you boot up your NX or whatever the next thing, or even integrate into current gen of Wii U and 3DS, you open it up, it's like, bam, here are this month's rewards. Go check it out.
And I really do think it'll be much more streamlined, and I think that will help. The DNA thing will help with that as well, because it'll make it more streamlined, and it'll be like you can do shit on your mobile for it and do things on your computer and your system and all that stuff. So it should be a lot easier. And yes, the Digital Deluxe promotion was freaking awesome. That was freaking genius, and I honestly wish they never did away with that. But I hope to see something. Yes, Dipple Man. I hope to see something like that in the future. And good job, Isaac. Way to snag that Stealth Inc. 2 code. That game freaking kicks ass.
Oh yeah, I played that too last week.
And actually, before we get, because we got to do questions soon, right?
Yeah, soon.
Okay, I have another code to give away. This is from the glorious Bear Hugger. You saw him giving away the other code in there. I will try to make this. This is for SteamWorld Dig, North American only. SteamWorld Dig is an awesome game. I will try to make this question somewhat easier. But
not that the last one was very hard.
Well, I mean, it took people to Google. I need to come
What
up
year
with
was
something.
Tim Burton's Batman Return released?
91. No, was it 91 or 92? I know original Batman was 89. No, but you know what? Screw you. We already did something Tim Burton related. So talk for a minute.
Yeah. You mentioned the Digital Deluxe program. That too was kind of hidden, because I remember when I put a post on Nintendo Enthusiast back in December saying like, "Hey guys, go register on this account. You probably have like money you don't know about." And like our comments section, like at least got 50 people just saying like, "Wow, I got $12. I got $50." Like people didn't know about it. It was just like this little sticker on the box on the Wii U, like, "Hey, you're getting free money for buying for downloading games." So.
Okay, so I got my question.
All right.
This is Tim Burton related. It's kind of easy. What year, or no, what was the day, the month, day, and year that Edward Scissorhands released in North America?
God, I remember that movie.
Oh, I love that movie. That movie's so good. Timeless. Tim Burton is kind of like Nintendo because his shit just never gets old.
While you guys are getting over that, hey Zero, aren't you like a big Xbox One fan? Would you appreciate this pin?
Yeah, I saw they were giving those out at E3. I was kind of like, damn, I want one of those.
So I have no appreciation for Forza. Do you want to like seal a friendship between us by me giving you this?
Uh-oh, wait a minute. I gotta think about the cost there.
Well, you'll have an inside.
Okay, well, I didn't know it'd be that costly.
You'll have an inside guy in the white community.
That's a little expensive there. A seal on friendship.
Yeah, we're gonna have to shake on it if you want. Because really, I don't play Forza, and I wish I got any of the other pins, but I didn't know that they were giving pins for all of the Xbox games. So, yeah, if you want it, I'll hang on to it for you, or send it to you or something.
No, that's all right. I mean, if you want to give it as like, 'cause here's the thing. I mean, I wouldn't be able to display it anywhere other than, I mean, Forza Motorsport 6 is coming this year, and that's the only time I think I would even display the pin or be wearing it. So in reality, I have no use for it. So it's not something you know.
All right. Maybe I'll just put it.
I don't actually need the pin. It's just, you know, admittedly, yeah, I like the Forza series. It actually stole me away from Gran Turismo.
Question for you though, Zero. since you have shown a lot of Xbox enthusiasm in the last hour, obviously your channel, the Wii U, is it called the Wii U? No, that's just your show, right?
Yeah.
Is there any reason that you decided to start off with a lot of Nintendo content on your personal channel?
Wait, I don't get the question.
So you seem to, I'm just saying you seem to enjoy a lot of the games that are not found on Nintendo consoles. Obviously you can enjoy both and appreciate one or the other. I'm just wondering, do you have a reason that you focus on Nintendo, or do you like Nintendo Xbox equally? Or is...
Oh, I see. You haven't watched my show, so you don't know the answers. Just kidding.
You don't watch this podcast, so...
I never got far enough to know there were giveaways. I admit that now. I watched some, and like 10, 15 minutes in, I'm like, all right, I got to go do something. I'll admit it. I'll admit that. But,
fair enough.
you know, I grew up with Nintendo. That's really what it is. I'm a Nintendo fan because it's Nintendo that got me playing video games. And it's funny because my first video game wasn't a Nintendo game. Even though the original NES came with Super Mario Brothers, my first game was Ghosts and Goblins, which was ungodly harder, by the way.
Whoa, that's crazy.
And so the first game I played was one of the hardest. And I played, you know, Super Mario Brothers not long after. But, you know, if it wasn't for Nintendo, I wouldn't be playing video games. That's the essential answer. So I have stuck with Nintendo through all the years, but I've always been a multi-platform. When I was that young, I didn't have a choice, right? You know, you're a kid. Your parents are the ones who make those decisions. But, you know, once it started entering the GameCube era, I bought a Dreamcast. I started, you know, PC game. As I started working and making the money, you know, I started to enjoy the wider breadth of gaming rather than just Nintendo. But in the end, my show started with the people who started me on it. So for a gaming channel, to start the gaming channel, I felt it was best to start talking about gaming with a focus on the people that brought me into gaming, which is Nintendo.
So that's something you actually hear a lot. Obviously, our generation grew up on Nintendo, so we are all nostalgically attached to Nintendo, aside from them being a company that make great games. Do you feel that that's something that's going to get lost when the new generation, who didn't necessarily grow up on Nintendo specifically, do you think Nintendo's going to lose a lot of their ground or their charm as we get older and get replaced? Or is that too... You guys get what I'm asking?
Yeah, to be vulgar about it, I think once you and Shawn have babies, you're going to make sure your kids play Nintendo, and I think that's really kind of how that's going to go as our generation gets older and starts having kids, that we remember Nintendo, that will probably encourage our own kids to play Nintendo. So I don't think Nintendo will ever really die. It'll just be something that becomes tertiary, secondary, where, you know, a lot of Nintendo fans getting older are encouraging their kids to still play Nintendo. And I actually know someone like that, someone who's been on my show, Jeremy, his wife and kids, you know, he encourages them to play Nintendo games together, but I got him to buy an Xbox One instead of a PlayStation 4. But he has his daddy's console, but when it comes to his kids, he'd rather they play Nintendo games because he feels they're healthier for them. And I think that's going to happen a lot as our generation continues to get older and older. You're going to encourage your kids or other kids to play Nintendo games. So I don't think it'll get lost. I think it'll just become secondary.
You have any thoughts on that, Shawn? And then with any of your kids?
I don't really like kids, so...
Oh, Shawn's like that? I got it.
Ooh.
What happened?
It's alright, you're in a good place. You won't have kids, is what Zero's suggesting.
Oh, yeah, I mean, hopefully. I mean, there's been some...
Won't and can't aren't the same thing, but go on.
I mean, there have been some situations where I'm like, uh-oh. But, I don't know. I remember one.
Dude,
you want to get down to the nitty-gritty.
It's a Nintendo podcast, not the Let's Learn More About Shawn's Sex Life podcast.
And there's one chick. And then when the kid was born, she sent me a picture of him, and I was like, oh, my God. But nothing ever came of it.
Shawn.
Oh,
guys,
geez.
hide your kids, hide your wife. Shawn.
Question time! Question.
Yes.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before you guys do questions, I can't see where you guys are seeing the questions from.
In the YouTube room that you were supposed to be commenting in.
I can't.
Yeah.
I told you I can't. The two aren't connected. Where?
No. They don't need to be connected. Look, just go to this YouTube video that I'm linking you in the mini chat. Make sure your sound is off so that we're not getting this feedback loop. And you'll see people chatting in there, and you even had people asking you to notice
You
them.
You better hope this works, because the YouTube account tied to it may not. Crap.
It doesn't matter what account. Like, you could look at it. Maybe you have to be a subscriber. I'm not sure, but.
Oh wait, I think I can switch to. Oh, this is weird. So it's.
Mute the video.
Okay, wait. I think I'm okay now.
All right. So I do know that since the beginning of the podcast, someone has been asking for you to notice. I assume you're senpai, so you need to notice someone, whoever's been asking for it. So yeah, we're going to be taking questions from here, guys. Anyone in the chat room, if you have questions, if you have opinions, I mean, if it's interesting enough, we'll toss it up for discussion between the three of us and give it a shout out for anyone who watches this not live. You got Mr. Nipples Man here, who's got a question for Zero apparently.
Mr. Nipples Man, what was your question? We do have a Zero. Zero, what is your favorite console?
Sorry, I'm catching up with the.
Oh God! Don't try to read all 500 messages.
Well, I didn't know it was that active. I had no clue.
Yeah, people actually watch this podcast, believe it or not. People unlike you.
Okay, again, I watch it. I just don't make it all the way through. It's when Shawn talks. I zone out when Shawn starts going off.
He zones out himself when he talks. He just like goes into his game.
Okay, so these. There we go. Now I'm at the bottom. Why does Jason's nipples not pierce the heavens like Shawn's?
Those aren't the questions we pick up.
Oh,
no,
okay.
That's what Nipples Man wanted to know.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. You'll just have to see one day, if ever.
Zero, what is your favorite console, and do you recognize Tudor?
Where do you see that question? Oh, it's above that.
Even if you can't read it, we're still saying it, so you can answer it.
My favorite console right now, or ever?
I don't know.
Right now. Or
Quiet,
ever.
cat!
What is happening in the background? I don't even know what the.
I have the noisiest cat in the world. Sorry.
Slipping the cat or.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody had a baby that was crying, and I.
That's the cat. I have a baby. I have a furry baby that just walks around and cries at me. It doesn't want food. It doesn't want litter change. It doesn't want to be pet. It just wants to be.
All right. We're getting some good questions here.
Okay. So my favorite console right now is the Xbox One. Sorry, Nintendo fans.
That's fair enough.
What do you guys think of the rumor Fatal Frame 5 being eShop only? I think it's a bit premature. I think everyone's kind of jumping to conclusions. Now, in the same breath, if that were to happen, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised.
That wouldn't bother me because I've really started moving into digital anyway. There's a surprising convenience for me. I know people defend physical copies with their life, especially putting it on their shelves, but I gotta say, making the transition to digital wasn't that bad. And a lot of my titles now are just, if you go to my Wii U, I have like 2 Wii U boxes. Everything else is digital. It's all on the console.
But don't you like touching the boxes?
I like playing the games, not touching the boxes.
Why not have both?
Because I can't do both. I can't touch the game case while playing the game.
You can put it on your face.
Jason, stop with your questions. What is the #1 feature we want on the NX? More
Friend
games.
block.
More games.
Voice chat.
I don't really care about voice chat. Zero.
Wait, where is that question? I don't even see. These are coming in so quick, I can't even keep up with it.
That's why you just answer. I'll read them, you answer.
Okay, fine, whatever. #1 feature you 3 want to be included in the NX. 1080p?
Oh, come on. Wii U does a better job with graphics does a better job at 1080p 60 frames per second than those other.
Fine, I want the NX to have 4K. There we go.
Ugh, nobody even has a 4K TV. With rumors of Devil's Third being digital only in North America, what are your thoughts on that? Once again, I think it's a jump to conclusion. Everyone's kind of basing that on Itagaki liking a Facebook post. Itagaki likes pretty much anything you say to him if you look. So I would take that as a grain of salt. Once again, in the same breath, if it were to happen, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. How many Wii games? Oh, go ahead.
Rare has released the Rare Replay. Sonic Sega's asking this. What other company do you feel should release a compilation of their classics? I feel like most companies have re-released. I think like Rare is the last one to the party. Although most of we saw like a lot of classics being bundled together last gen. Like the Wii had a bunch of compilations of classics. So did the gen before that, like the Mega Man Legacy Collection, which was like PS2, GameCube era. And then they have
the GameCube and the Wii and the PS2 and the Xbox had so many compilation discs.
Oh, did we just lose you? Zero, can you hear Shawn?
Is it? Oh, it is him. He just froze like that.
All right. Power Jasons, we banned Shawn from our podcast. All right, so we're going to keep doing questions without Shawn here, because
it's a good pause. Someone take a screenshot of Shawn pause like that, and then create a meme out of that.
Awesome. Yeah, please do that. Did you have any thoughts on the compilation, Zero?
You know, I gotta say, I was also impressed by Rare Replay. I mean, that's one hell of a value, and I think there's almost no companies left with enough classics to do that, except maybe Konami, possibly, and maybe, I mean, Sega's kind of done it, but not as good as Rare Replay, so, I mean, I think only Sega and Konami are the only two that could really do a sizable compilation like that.
That would be worthwhile, yeah.
Yeah.
People in the chat are saying, what a pose to lose them on, too, so they're appreciating that screenshot.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of funny. Oh, who's your favorite cosplayer in your interview?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I mean, that's so specific to my channel that I don't think anyone else is going to know what he's talking about. But
well, let's give him some background. So Zero here.
Admittedly, I'd have to give it to Julieta. Julieta did one of the hottest Bayonetta cosplays. She's also got the most views and likes of any interviews I've done. And even Hideki Kamiya responded and said for her to marry him because of her Bayonetta cosplay. So, you know, I got to give it to Julieta, basically.
Julieta?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what her cosplay name is? Is that how you would find her, Julieta?
Yeah, Julieta Zawadzki.
Yeah, maybe I'll have you link it later.
Bastards.
Right. Oh, God, he's back.
I thought you banned him. Just kidding.
We're supposed to tell him that.
He changed IPs to come back. That's what he probably did.
I had to.
This is a good one. What do you think of GameStop taking in older consoles now?
I mean, that's pretty much for me.
Do you think so?
Okay, go ahead. What do you think about GameStop taking in old consoles now?
I think that if it can help bring the price down for older consoles, I'm all for it. I mean, I feel for the collector. It sucks because the collector's market has been ridiculous in the last little while, and people have probably spent a lot of money getting those. But hey, if GameStop can give me an NES for $10, $20, why would I be against that?
Yeah, because someone obviously has not been to GameStop's website to look at the prices of things, because they're actually selling things on a retro website. And, funnily enough, while the prices are very comparable to eBay prices, which is not necessarily a good thing, 90% of the stuff is out of stock, and you have no idea of what the actual copy you are getting looks like. You don't know if it's all
bullshit then.
Yes. So, now, the only thing I've seen on GameStop's retro thing that's anywhere decent to a deal is the NES top loader for $60, but like I said, they are out of stock of pretty much everything. You don't get an actual image of what you're getting, so I don't really foresee it being a positive thing, and I don't really foresee it taking off. Like, maybe on impulse buys, when you're in a store, if they do roll it out worldwide, I could see that maybe happening, but I don't think it's really going to put a dent into the retro market as far as bringing the prices of things down. The only people it's going to affect really are people like Lukey Games who overcharge for things to begin with. So, you know, they will have to get more in line. But, you know, your common eBay seller, your common, you know, mom and pop shop, they ain't got shit to worry about.
Or you can just go current generation and not have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yes, because I love updating games all the time and having broken games and all that stuff. And I love every time.
Because there were no broken games back in the 90s. They were all perfect masterpieces to play.
There weren't. There were shitty games, but they weren't broken. They freaking worked.
Yeah, your battery didn't run out on the cartridge and erase all your saves or anything.
Yeah, what game did that? No Mercy 64? Like, that was it.
Any game, that technology is just bound to erase your memory.
Yeah, that's what they say. All you gotta do is switch out the battery, though. Simple. Someone asked me before I was rudely disconnected how many Wii U physical games I own. The answer to that is 30.
Wow,
30.
that's a lot.
Not really. That's one of my smaller collections of games. I have like 200 NES games.
You count indie games up. And I got a question. I had one. It was cool. This was from I lost his name. But given that space is infinite and that God is equally infinite, would you like a toasted tea cake? Because I sure would. I'd love one.
No, I don't know what the hell that shit is.
Bear Hugger dropping a Guacamole code in the chat room for North American audience, I assume. Yes. Grab that if you can. Isn't Bear Hugger? He seems familiar. Isn't he a Canadian or something?
He is the self-proclaimed fat Canadian fuck. Very entertaining channel.
That question by Cumulative is actually a decent one. It says, do you believe Nintendo is responding to the more adult appeal of some of their characters in their latest first-party titles using their characters, or do you think it's entirely coincidental? You know, I'd like to answer that because if you've played Ocarina of Time, that game is more adult than you realize. A lot of people don't realize how adult the themes are in Ocarina of Time, and that's a much older game. So I'd say that underlying, to answer that question, the underlying principles underneath Nintendo's games have always been pretty adult. They look cartoony from the outside, but, I mean, I can't deny there are some adult themes in Nintendo's games.
Any specific ones that you are referring to in Ocarina of Time?
There's a lot of stuff that was kind of creepy. I mean, you know, here... This is funny. This is not even related to characters. It's pretty creepy to go down into there's that weird dungeon with those screamy things that stare at you and make you freeze.
I hate those.
And then you freeze, and then if they get too close... I mean, I never actually got caught by one, but I was curious what happened if you did. And then I see it latch onto me. And it's like squeezing and choking me and making all kinds of weird noises. And I'm like, this isn't for kids. And, you know, I think a lot of the times that people judge Nintendo games is from the outside, because once you play it, you realize there's actually quite a lot of adult themes for a lot of their games. And it's funny that this question is about them adopting adult things, but I think they always have. I don't think it's ever been that kiddie, to be honest. It just looks that way, but you know, there's a lot of adult themes for Nintendo games.
And in that same breath, I mean, just look at Majora's Mask.
Oh, yeah.
That game was freaking... That was... Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you're seeing less of those themes in the modern games, though. And just thinking off the top of my head, Mario game, Splatoon, they're all very gameplay-focused, cutesy. There's no themes to really talk about there.
Well, Skyward Sword had a lot on the... I wouldn't say love, but there was a pretty good adult theme about... you know, the romance and the connection. So if you want to talk about adult themes, it doesn't always have to be creepy or serious. It can be more adult themes that kids may not understand. They're not fully going to understand how Groose morally changed, or the ending, how, you know, I don't want to blow the ending too much, but, you know, there's that kind of time loop at the end of Skyward Sword, and there's also that connection, you know, that builds between Zelda and Link. Stuff like that is...
What the hell is that?
My phone, sorry.
It's called Silent.
No one ever calls me on this thing. It's crazy. Sorry. Wrap up your thought.
You just admitted something kind of sad. No one ever calls.
Yeah, no one wants to call me because I hate talking on phones. Send me a text. Hit me on Facebook. There's like, use technology.
But yeah, I just,
you're always talking
about the adult themes. I think Nintendo has actually consistently had adult themes underneath the cartoony appearance. So really, I don't think they're actually changing that. I mean, I know you're saying that Splatoon's a little more cartoony, and yet, when I look at it, as cartoony as it is, there's really nothing that kiddie about it. It just looks that way. But you're still sliding people in the face.
It's very deep and disturbing.
Just look at the adult memes on Miiverse.
Oh dear. Yeah. That's not so much an adult theme as it is a porn theme, but all right, so we are 15 minutes past the hour. It's time to wrap up. Shawn, do you have any last things that you want to say?
Yeah.
Any last words?
Nipple Man is trying to get me to talk about Final Fantasy VII, and I won't, because you already know how I feel about Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, blue balling him.
Anyways, hey Coupon. Anyways, thank you for coming and joining us. I'm glad we could bring more racial diversity to Class versus Crass. And make sure we're very close to 10,000 subs on this channel. It's coming very soon. Jason and I are working on something just ridiculous, so it should be a lot of fun. Make sure you subscribe to my personal channel as well, because, yeah, I'd like to talk about old video games on there because I'm an old man. And make sure you check out Jason's personal channel, Tales of a Noob Gamer. And make sure you check out Zero's channel, which ZyroXZ2.
Let him advertise it.
Motherfucker! I'm sorry. ZyroXZ2. He can't talk in the room, so because his thing is messed up. So make sure you check him out. And special shout out to Bear Hugger. Make sure you check him out too for giving away those codes. I'm actually doing something on Bear Hugger's channel tonight with him. So follow me on social media if you want the deets for that, or just subscribe to Bear Hugger's channel. He's a good dude. And that's it.
All right. I'm going to do my wrap-up last, as I always do. Save the best for last, obviously. Except in this case, where we're going to go to Asian Jason. Jason, anything you would like to point your viewers to? This is the moment to shine.
And this is going to seem a little shamelessly pluggy, but I'm going to do it, because I was prepared to do this. So, because I can't use my own personal channel to chat, I wanted to let you all know that if you do actually go to my channel, I'm doing a NES Amiibo giveaway, and Friday is the last day, so if you want to grab a NES Amiibo, I've actually physically got it right here ready to give away. So, that's about it. And
what do you do on your channel?
What was that?
What do you do on your channel, for those that don't know?
Oh. That's a tough question to answer.
Besides give out Amiibo, what else do you do?
When you really think about that, but game reviews, discussion, I mean, it's current generation, so I've got the Xbox One, I do PC games, I do Wii U, and then I've also got a big announcement coming this week as well, for anybody who actually cares. And then, of course, I got a Batman Arkham Knight review coming in a couple of weeks, and, cosplay interviews, so if you're into looking at girls dress up, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of... It's hard to explain what's on my channel. It's about entertainment. It's not about focusing on one type of content. It's about providing a variety of content so that people who come can, have different things to look at and be amused. But I do still keep the gaming focus there. So if you want game reviews and discussion, that's there too.
All right, good stuff. I'm not cutting you off, am I? Because I stopped listening at the end there, sorry. All right, thanks everyone again for joining. Thank you, Jason, for joining us and letting us make fun of your ancestry and all that good stuff. As usual, Class vs. Crass will be available on SoundCloud. I usually put the link in the description of this video at the end. So if you don't want to look at our faces, but you do want to hear the discussion, you can head over to soundcloud.com/Nintendo-enthusiast. Unfortunately, Nintendo Enthusiast was taken, so I had to get creative. As Shawn said, you can find me on my personal channel doing some weird things as a gaming spirit at Tales of a Noob Gamer. And do check out this channel. This week I will be uploading more videos of my indie tours while I was out in Los Angeles. So I've already posted the one with Yacht Club Games. You can also look forward to WayForward Studios, developers behind Shantae, and TikTok Games, developers behind Adventures of Pip. I visited them. And a bonus video which will be the relics of WayForward Studios. So WayForward is over 25 years old. They had a lot of cool stuff in their back room, which I'll be making a little episode on. So do look forward to that. Have a good week, guys. Keep on playing Nintendo. Keep on being awesome. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.